everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. We try to bring about conversations in an audio format of a variety of topics related to social, psychological, emotional, and coaching related topics as often as we can. We do this through the benefit of connecting with you almost on a daily basis. We try to connect as often as we can because consistency helps people to get some foundation and sometimes security about kind of dealing with things. So, what are some lessons that life can teach us if we're willing to pay attention? Is where we're going today. But if you are kind of looking for what lessons your life might be trying to teach you, if you're going through challenges and just can't make sense of the why, sometimes finding your why or reestablishing your why can be one of the most valuable things you can do for yourself. It can sometimes be overwhelming, but at the same time, once you know or give a meaning to what it is that you're trying to do, you can get to a better place quickly, efficiently, and effectively. You can reach your goals simpler and easier. And so, the first thing that I want to say is if you are looking to kind of decode your life a little bit, reaching out to a coach such as myself, doesn't have to be me, but I hope that it is a good idea. And if you want to work with me, you can reach out on Twitter at PO Perception, or you can reach out through this particular YouTube page. The About Me section has my website. You can go there, send a message, and we'll get together somewhere down the road, not too far from now. In any event, we can kind of look at 8 or 9 different things that life will teach you if you let it. Number one, the importance of empathy. So, empathy means understanding where a person is coming from. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, in any way, be what another person wants you to be or agree with a person. Instead, understanding an agreement, which often can get very dicey for people, especially people who maybe feel like if they don't agree with somebody, that means the person is going to fear they're judging them. You cannot control how a person interprets your intentions, and the understanding of that truth alone can often be enough to get to a meaningful place in a self-understanding. So empathy just means being able to connect or try to connect with a person for the sake of understanding. It doesn't necessarily mean agreement. It doesn't necessarily mean that you modify your behavior unless you believe within your moral line that it's correct to do so. But it does mean gaining understanding from where a person is coming. The next is not comparing, not getting into comparison or competition. The reality is that there will always be people that you perceive better than you. There will always be people that you perceive worse than you. The more you waste time and energy thinking about the competition mindset, they are better, I am better, they are worse, I am worse, the more time you waste towards not attaining your goals. So the illusion of competition, if you really want to live well and live intelligently, has to go from what you're willing to engage with on a regular basis. That doesn't mean you won't fall into it from time to time mentally, because we're trained to believe that life is a competitive activity. Now, that training comes from those who want us to be focused away from improving ourselves a lot of the time, or who believe that being the best at something actually makes you better than others, except in that particular discipline. But the reality is, the more you get into competition, the more away from becoming your best you can often end up. The next thing to consider in this line of thought, life lessons that you can be taught, is how to say no, when to say no, and when to say yes. And so when you say yes, it's when your heart feels pulled to do so and you have the time, energy, effort to dedicate to something. So don't say yes if you're overextended. Don't say yes if you're overly tired. Don't say yes if you're feeling guilted into saying yes. Don't say yes because you're afraid of the consequences of saying no. Instead, focus on saying yes to the things that you can follow through on, things that you believe in, things that are valuable to you and are going to lead you to grow as a person, to grow as an individual, to grow your relationships, to grow how you communicate, how you live in the world, and how you give back to the world. And knowing when to say no is also just as important. That boundary between yes and no can be the difference between success and falling short for many people. Believe in something greater than yourself. If it's a god or goddess, if it's a certain religious practice, if it's the power of science, if it's the power of relationships, believe in something that's greater than yourself. If everything is and be and has to be related to what you can do, who you are, where you go, what you're about, then ultimately that gets very dicey, because if you ever get to a place where you don't have an answer, it is extremely difficult to come to a healthy place in a meaningful way. And so it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do a lot with the belief. You don't have to be there every day or every month or every year. But the more you're in your belief of something and connected to your belief in something bigger than yourself, the easier it'll be to accomplish things. But at the same time, you don't need to do that day to day to day. The next thing is look at the power of your intentions. What do you intend? What you intend, almost in a lot of cases, matters more than what you do. If your intentions are negative, but your actions are positive, eventually it'll catch up with you. But if your intentions are positive and the outcome is negative, that'll catch up with you too. So wonder and understand completely your why you're doing something. Make sure that your why is as altruistic as possible, unless you have to be self-motivated. Try to be at least self-motivated, meaning personal benefit, as possible, except if being that way is going to lead you in a direction that leads that gets you ahead in life and doesn't hurt anyone else. Now there are advantages to being self-motivated, and certainly being that way doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good or bad person. It just means that in fact you can kind of learn that way, um, and grow that way. But at the same time, understanding that you have to, or that it is often helpful to get to a healthier place by seeing yourself as kind of an ever evolving, ever growing person, the better off and the easier life will be for you. The next thing to consider in this particular line of thought is be yourself. Know who that is, and also give yourself permission to change and grow and alter. Who you are at 20 and who you are at 40 are going to be different people. That doesn't mean you're a bad person if you've changed, or if you've altered, or if your interests are different than they were, or if things that used to matter to you don't anymore. It doesn't mean you're a bad person if who you want to associate with is changing or has changed. It doesn't mean anything about negativity until you make it negative. So be yourself, allow yourself to evolve and grow, allow yourself to become different things as times go by, and check in with yourself to see if the way that you're living is in true alignment with the person that you're comfortable with becoming and that you want to be and become. The next thing is understand that asking for help actually makes you strong, not weak. So many people, unfortunately, get to a place of misunderstanding where they think that, in fact, um, asking for help makes you weak, or asking for help makes you not self sufficient. Look, do as much as you can on your own merit. Do as much as you can for the benefit of moving forward for yourself, because while it is entirely true that there are few, although most of us have some people we can depend on, there are few people you can truly depend on in every situation. At the same time, gaining help from a friend or family member or member of a religious or civic organization, or sometimes even a well-meaning stranger, accepting help, receiving help, and giving help should have equal value. So giving help should be something that you care about doing, because sooner or later you're going to need help yourself with something. Receiving help is something that you should be comfortable with doing, because you would want the person you're trying to help to be gracious in receiving. And so the balance is do as much as you can for yourself, but never be afraid to ask for or receive help in the end. Understand your purpose, and understand that your purpose throughout time may change, but the core of your being often will not. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, per se, that there's something negative or bad if you, for example, um, become a different person or look at life differently, and or you want different things out of your life over time. But understand what your purpose is in every action you take. The more purpose driven you are, the more you will accomplish in your daily, weekly, monthly life. And so the value of understanding purpose is you begin to kind of run your life rather than your life run you. And that can be super, super valuable. The last thing is the quality of friends you have should matter. And this is, for most people, should go without saying, but the quality of friends you have should matter more than the quantity. No, we'd all like to have a ton of friends. We'd all like to have more friends than we do. I don't think there's any person who'd say, an extra friend? No, not for me. But at the same time, focus on building quality relationships. Do not necessarily focus on, um, on being negatively motivated or thinking that the only reality that matters is what you're doing in the moment. Build the friendships over time. Realize that people change over time. And so just because you wanted somebody to do something or be something or hold one role in your life doesn't mean that another person can't hold the role better. It also doesn't mean that you can't change how you are, or who you want to become. Understanding the value in altering your worldview for your own benefit can be extremely valuable in the short and long run of daily living. So hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.